This good-looking fella is Spencer, and this is Spencer's roadmap to success. Now, right a second ago, we were just talking about this smile that he has on his face. This is how we interpret as humans, as a smile. That's we call it anthropomorphization. We would project human emotions onto a dog. And he's wiggling a little bit. This is the first time I've been touching him, and he's been on my lap. So he doesn't actually want to be on my lap right now. He's not panicked about it because we built a positive association throughout this session. But I want the guardian to recognize that when he has his mouth like this, that's not a smile. That's not him saying he's happy. That's him saying I'm a little bit stressed out or there's something going on. Now, I'm not doing anything negative with him. This is actually a principle that we call flooding, where I'm exposing him something that's positive that he doesn't think he likes, but nothing bad is happening. And after enough exposure, he can learn to do this without being stressed out. I'm careful. I very, very rarely do this. I'm a professional. I very rarely do flooding. I would not recommend somebody who doesn't know what they're doing to be doing a flooding technique, but I just wanted to let people know because they're like, well, if he's stressed, why is he on your lap? There's a benefit to that. Okay, so in this video, we're going to talk about all the things. I'm going to try to summarize the things we covered in this in-home dog training session or behavior session. So the first thing we did was we talked about exercise. The Guardian does an amazing job, probably in the top 2 percentile of all the clients I work with in terms of how much she exercises her dog. Most people don't realize how much exercise a dog needs. So the Guardian, keep on doing that. One of the best things she's doing it, she's sprinkling it throughout the day. About once an hour, he goes for a walk, which is awesome. Dogs sleep about 17 hours a day, so we really want to put exercise in small little spurts throughout the day. All right, I put my treat pouch in a big bad place, didn't I? It's on the other side. I have to get this out if I want to give you a treat to keep you happy. So let's go ahead and see if I can do this. Yes, without you squirming away. We'll put it right there. Now I can go back to my, because I'm a righty. All right, so we're gonna give him some treats throughout this so to make sure that this is a positive experience for him. And I'm gonna squeeze it so he can nibble on it a little bit and work for it. This creates a more of a positive. You see he's leaning into me now. He's a little bit more relaxed because again, something positive and good is happening. Positive reinforcement, the benefits of it. Okay, so we started off the session by talking about exercise. He's getting plenty. Next question we went over was, second question I asked all my clients, what rules does he have? And the Guardian was telling me what a smart dog he is. And we went through a lot of the tricks and commands that he knows. And he is a smarty pants. But training and behavior are very different. I am not a dog trainer, I'm a dog behaviorist. I can train dogs, but the method for dog behavior modification is different. It's usually using operant or classical conditioning and a lot of positive reinforcement. So basically, a lack of rules can confuse a dog into thinking that we're peers. I think in his case, I think the reason that he thinks that he barks so much is I think he thinks that he has to protect his guardian because he doesn't see his guardian acting like a leader by enforcing rules. And she pets him so much because she loves him and he's a cute dog. But just like a child, if you give the child everything it wants, when you can't give the child what it wants, it freaks out. And that kind of is what happens to him at times. So basically what we want him to do, that's a good sign, chin down. So basically what we want him to do is we want to shift the leader-follower dynamic. And I found the best way to do that is to start incorporating rules and structure and enforcing them consistently. We have a tendency to think of breaking the rules as a positive because the way rules are introduced to us as a little kid. And that's the human psychology of rules. But for dogs, they go through life probing to determine where boundaries and limits are. So if we don't have rules in place, they don't see us acting like a leader because the leader is the ones that enforce the rules. And so that can confuse a dog into thinking that yes, they do need to be protective or possessive of us. Sit. That's what I call passive training or operant conditioning, which we're going to talk about in a minute. So some of the rules we talked about, the Guardian already has a couple. One of them, it was back and forth about not laying the dog on the furniture. But this is one of the first rules I usually suggest because for dogs, the higher they sit, the more rank or social standing they have amongst their peers. So if I let a dog sit here at the same height as us, it says we are peers, and if we're peers, then listening to me is optional. And if the dog sits up here, then the dog feels like it has more authority than us. Now you can pet a dog in a circle on his chest like this. This is a nice way to calm a dog down, but be careful. Anything your dog is doing when you pet it is what you're amplifying. So if he's too stressed out and I pet him, I can be amplifying that. And I think that's probably the most common mistake people make with dogs. And I'm pretty sure the Guardian has done that at least a couple times. So yes, so I can lay my hand on him and let him know, it's okay, buddy, without amplifying it. But I don't want him to, I don't want to pet him if he's nervous or anxious or fearful, because that's going to stress him out a little bit. All right, so I'll tell you what, I actually have 2 things for you. Is he allowed to have a bully stick? Okay, so we're going to let him chew on a bully stick so he's nice and content while we're talking about the rest of this, and then you get a nice parting prize when we leave. All dogs like bully sticks unless they're really too stressed out, so we'll see if he'll actually be interested or not. Okay, so let me see. Some of the rules we talked about: sitting at the door. Now, I'd like the guardian to go to doggonproblems.com or just message me and I can share this video with you. But the guardian was trying to kind of physically block him from going out the door when I pointed out that he was running out the door first. For dogs, whoever's in front is perceived to be the leader. So if I open the door and let him run out in front of us or let him walk ahead of me on the leash, he's going to be more reactive. So what I do is I go to the door, and I started going through this, but we had an urgent potty issue, so we weren't able to do it. So don't do this when you're urgent or you're in a rush. So what I did is I went to the door, and I had her go to the door and tell the dog to sit. As soon as the dog sat, she reached for her handle. As soon as she did that, he got up. I had to pull her hand back, wait for him to stop, and then when he sat down, we said it again. Here, I'll put it right there. How about if I hold it there for you? And then as soon as he sat down, she reached again. Eventually I had her reach and jiggle the handle, but not open it, pull her hand back and do this over and over. The idea is to get the dog so accustomed, oh, we're not going through the door. She's just jiggling the doorknob or the deadbolt and all that. And then eventually we get to the point where we open it just a crack and then we close it. And if at any point he gets up, we stop and we close the door and we reset the whole deal. I have had clients where they'll spend 15, 20 minutes doing this one time. The whole point is you have to outlast your dog. After a while, the dog's like, no matter, she just likes to futz with the door, she messes around, but we're not going out. And then finally, you open it a little bit, and a little bit more, and a little bit more, and a little bit more, and he understands just because the door is open does not mean I have permission to go out. I have to get invitation or a command word from my guardian. So if you want to create a command word for that, once you can get him to open the door and he stays seated, then as we walk out, I might drop a treat on the ground, and when he goes out, I might say go, or release, or outside, or a word that means to go through the threshold. And so this way, it helps him practice a little bit of self-control. I don't think he practices much self-control. He's reactive. Most dogs are. So we have to help them practice that. Having them sit at the door is a great way to do that. Sitting at every corner, every time we cross the street on a walk is a great way of doing that. Other rules we talked about: not laying the dog on the furniture. And this is one that's going to be hard for the guardian, but she has to understand that that's really going to help him adopt more of that follower's mindset and help him feel a lot more relaxed. He's going to push for boundaries. He's not going to say, okay, you don't want me on the furniture. He's going to try. Now, the guardian asked about bringing the dog bed here. I would have a dog bed for every room that he hangs out in. Now, I like to get the square dog bed that looks kind of like a cushion to the couch. A lot of people get one that looks like a little mini couch. It's got a back and two sides and a lower part in the front. The problem with that is if I throw a treat in there, it might hide in the cracks. He might not see it. If I put a treat right there, he's going to see it because of the contrast. Dogs' are colorblind. So you want to use a light cream, a white, or a light gray as the color and no pattern on the dog bed. And I prefer to get one that's just rectangular in shape and it's not like a duvet cover, because otherwise it kind of gets lost in the folds. So the first way I teach the dog to go to the dog bed is I touch his nose with a treat. I throw the treat on the dog bed. When he licks it off, I would say the word Paris, or whatever the word is the guardian wants to mean to go to that specific dog bed. When he leaves it, I throw another treat. I do that for about 10 treats. And then the next step is I wait for him to go there on his own, and when he does, then I throw the treat there after he goes there. At first it's to entice him to go, then it's to reward him for going. Every time he licks up the treat, right after it goes in his mouth, he hears the word Paris. After doing this, 10 treats and then toss another, 5 or 10, do that 3 or 4 times a day for a couple days. After a while, you say Paris, and he'll just run over and lay down on the dog bed. And I would have a different name for the dog bed in the office, and a different one in maybe call it the actual bed in the bedroom. So now we can direct him. If he's being a nuisance in here, we're entertaining friends, we say, maybe call that one Oslo. I'm going with the city theme. And then he runs over there and goes over and hangs out in that dog bed because he's been conditioned to do that and motivated and rewarded to do that. Anytime I don't allow the dog on the furniture for a period of time, I always want them to have a place to go where they can get a little bit of status. So I would, place I usually like to put is right in front of the TV, because the dog's like, God, look at how much she loves me. She was looking at me all day long when we're really just watching the TV above the dog's head. Okay, so another rule would be the guardian needs to eat something before she feeds the dog. So if she's going to eat her actual meal, I would basically eat her meal first, then prepare the dog food after she's completed. If she's going to go out to eat or she's not going to eat at the same time, she needs to eat a little bit of something so the dog sees that she eats first. So what I would do is I would put the food in his bowl. Don't let him have access to it. Use that escalating consequence, the hiss or the standing up if you need to keep him away. Then get a chip, a piece of celery, a cracker, something like that, and eat it in 5 or more bites. After you get done, we're going to invite him over, tap the bowl, and when he takes his first bite of food, we're going to say egg or whatever the word is that means that he gets permission to eat. Try to come up with fun command words whenever possible, because again, dogs can read human facial expressions. So if you smile, every time you say egg and he starts eating and you smile, he's going to be more motivated to do that. So do that for about 2 months, and after about 2 months, you should just be able to say egg, and he'll be like running right over there to it. Let me see. Other rules we went over. For the bed, since he sleeps with her, he does a good job of staying on his side of the bed. I do that with my dogs as well. But I would start making going onto the bed only with an invitation. And so if he gets up without an invitation, we're going to do what I showed you earlier. Take a treat out, touch his nose, throw it on the ground. When he jumps down and gets it, we're going to put it in context and say the word off. This way, he has a vocabulary that makes it easier. Even though he doesn't have accents, I would recommend the guardian potty train him with a command word or just associate a command word since he's already potty trained. So every time you're out and about and he pees or poops, say the word pee-pee. Normal tone of voice, only say it once. And have a treat in your hand ready to go. And as soon as he gets done, crouch down in a crouching position or just kind of kneel down. He'll run over to you, put the treat in his mouth, and say the word pee-pee a second time. The first time associates the word with the action of eliminating, either peeing or pooping. The second time associates the reward with the command word. And after a while, the trifecta all become synonymous. And you say potty or pee-pee, and he goes like this, you know he's got to go. If you say pee-pee, you know, and he doesn't respond, you know he doesn't have to go. Make sure that he's not going through doorways ahead of you, going downstairs or hallways or walking ahead of you on the walks. Let me see. We also went over passive training and petting with a purpose. I talked about him on this one already, but petting with a purpose is if I want to pet him, instead of petting him just because he looks cute, I'm going to ask him to do something first. Ask him to sit. And then as soon as he sits, I'm going to pet him under his chin and say sit and only the word sit. If he's already sitting, I might ask him to come and sit over here or ask him to lie down. He's going to have to do something to change his state to pay for the attention. So if he tells us what to do, that's a leadership quality. If he asks us what to do, that's a follower's mindset. So even if you want to pet him, I'd like you to still ask him to sit or lay down or do something. I wouldn't do the paw because for dogs, if you like this, you must really like this is how they look at it. And if he jumps up on a human who comes into your house, that's the way a dog would claim that human as his property. So it's kind of practicing a behavior that is confusing for dogs. We think it's cute, but it can get out of whack really easily. So basically for petting with a purpose is if you want to pet him, just make him do something, or he can come in front of you and sit down to prepay for attention. That's a good indicator that he's starting to shift from a leader mindset to a follower's mindset. As soon as he sits, then pet him under his chin and say the word sit and only the word sit. If he lays down, pet him and say down or whatever the word is, but just the command word. Only say it once and don't say it in an excited tone of voice and don't add good boy or good dog or thank you or anything else, just the command word. Try to avoid caveman talk. After a while, he'll come start sitting in front of you to prepay for attention. When he does, make sure you recognize that and reward him. Pet him under his chin. Now you can scratch his butt or his sides or anything else too. Just never pat him down here, even though he's put his nose up. Most dogs put their nose down. Insecure dogs put their nose down. We want him he's a good, proud, confident dog. We want to make sure that's the case. So we're going to pet him under his chin so he has that aristocratic nose up in the air. Now the other thing we did is passive training. Passive training is the easiest way to train a dog to do anything. And you can train your dog to do some weird stuff through passive training. Passive training is really a form of operant conditioning. So basically, if the dog comes over to me on his own volition, I didn't call him, I didn't ask him to, I didn't show him I have a treat, he just came over because he wanted to, I'm going to pet him and say come. Every time he sits down next to me, I pet him and say sit. Every time he lays down, I pet him and say down. Every time he brings me the zebra toy, I'm going to call it zebra and pet him. So now we're putting all these things in context, and then when I ask him to sit, sure. Every time I sit, you start massaging me and I hear the word sit. I like massages, so I'm happy to do that. So now by asking him to earn that, that's going to boost his self-esteem. It's going to help him to respect his guardian as a leader. And it's also going to condition him and make it easier to get him to sit on walks or in the house or out of the house. And again, it's that mindset of thinking that he's a follower. So that's petting with a purpose is if you want to pet him or he's telling you what to do, he's got to do something to prepay for it. Passive training is waiting for him to do anything organically. So every time he comes down, lays down, pet him and say down. I also use this for when you feed him. Come up with a command word for egg or whatever it is. Maybe call it faux because we put eggs in faux a lot. Or something that's fun because the guardian is kind of smiling. So again, the whole point is use those fun command words. Now, since he is such a smarty pants, she taught him some commands. Although training and behavior are different, the dog can get more confident by new tricks and commands, just like us. The guardian here is really talented in the arts. And when she does something and finishes a project, whether it's a painting or a book or whatever it is, she feels a sense of pride and accomplishment because she sacrificed a lot. She put a lot of time and effort and her soul into that. And so we feel better about ourselves when we pass the bar or graduate college or whatever it is. And so he also can get a self-esteem boost by learning some new tricks and commands. So if you go to YouTube, all these dog trainers want to be Cesar Millan. They want a TV show. So they'll show you how to teach your dog to do circles, or to walk in a heel, or bang your dad, or fetch some V8 out of the refrigerator, or whatever it is. So treating him to do these things can really be a nice self-esteem boost for him, and can also help enrich your life, because now you have different ways to distract him. He can make himself useful, so to speak. Dogs in the wild spend 90% of the time looking for food, and the rest of the time they're doing their job. Well, we provide food in a bowl, so they're like, okay, what do I do with the other 89% of my time? And I don't have a job. So they try to assign themselves jobs. And a lot of times the jobs they assign are not jobs that we like. So for me, I would rather have him, go to get the ball, or walk at a heel, or do the things that I want him to do. There we go. That's a good sign of him feeling a little bit more comfortable if he's willing to chew. Also, self-grooming is a sign of him being, yes, I know. Now, if he is stressed or distressed, make sure we're just putting our hand on him, not petting him. I also went over a couple of the escalating consequences I use to disagree with unwanted dog behaviors. One of them is to make the hissing sound. The second thing is to stand up abruptly. Now, I have two others, but since he doesn't really have a lot of behavior problems that you're having problems with, I didn't go over those. If you want to go over the rest of those, just let me know and I can share a video with you. Now, the video above talks about teaching him to speak and to be quiet. So to teach him to speak, to be quiet, first we have to teach him to speak before we can start elongating the silence or the quiet command. So every time that he barks, this is a form of passive training as well. So every time he barks, say the word speak. Now, it's a little bit of friendly fire because he's barking for a reason, so that's going to confuse him a little bit, but if you're consistent, after a while you can get him to do it. Or there might be other things that you maybe pick something up or hold something or look at him a certain way he barks. We prefer to get him to do it organically with us. We don't want to scare him or make it a negative experience, but every time he barks, we want him to hear that word speak or wolf or whatever the word is. And once he's got that down, then we can start elongating it like I showed you in the video above. But that's only to teach him what it means to be quiet. For him to want to be quiet and to be listening, he's going to need the guardian to enforce rules consistently. Remember, for 30 days or as long as the problem is still going on. And then after that point, we can break these rules as an exception for good behavior with a one-time pass. So if the guardian wants to let him on the furniture, she can, because it's her furniture. She's being nice enough to share it with her dog. This is the guardian's bully stick. She's just being nice enough to let the dog chew on it and borrow it for a while. If I come into a house and I put my feet up on her nice table here, she'd look at me like, how rude. If she put her feet on her own table, I wouldn't even think about it because it's her table. And I want the dog to have a little bit more of that guest mentality. Now, I'd like the guardian to have a little bit more of a hard-to-get, aloof mentality with the dog. I think this dog thinks it's got it wrapped around his finger a little bit, and I think he does to some extent. So at one point, he didn't want to listen. She got up and she wanted to walk towards him. No, ask him one time. If he doesn't do it, you're a woman of many talents. You got a lot of things going on. Start doing some painting or whatever it is. And he went and say, oh man, I missed my shot. I could have been outside pottying, but I didn't listen to her. Next time she asks me, I better say yes right away. Let me see. Is there anything else I'm forgetting that you want me to go over?
I think you covered it.
I think I'm pretty good at covering this. Now, if I did forget, or if you forgot to ask me about something, or you have something new that develops, or the barking is not working right, I want you to call me. If I don't hear from you, I assume that means that everything's going great. So when I have thousands of clients, I can't follow up with everybody once a month or what, just make sure things are going. So I count on my clients. So please let me know if you have any questions or problems. I don't care, literally don't care if it's 7 years from now. I had a guy call me literally 7 years after. We're on the West Coast. He moved to the East Coast. His dog passed away. He got a new puppy. I'd never met that dog before. He called me up. I spent 5 minutes with him, solved his problem on the phone just because of the stuff that we went over in the session. So I want you to feel like you have somebody, I don't say on retainer, but on your beck and call. All right, well, see, now he's relaxed. He's loving the bully stick, and he's completely relaxed. I don't even have to be holding him at this point, although the jingle sound might make him go. There we go. So he can go away as he wants. Don't practice the flooding technique, but do practice the quiet and bark like we talked about, all the rest of the stuff we went over. All right, well, this is Spencer's. You can see he's blinged out by his collar right down here. And this is Spencer's roadmap to success. Remember, everything you do trains your dog. Only sometimes you mean it.